Welcome to the Adventures in Alchemy podcast, where we share tips, techniques, and true stories to support you in using the law of attraction and alchemy to create magic and live the life of your dreams. Here's your host, the founder of DailyAlchemy.com, Michelle Martin Dobbins.
Hey there, it's Michelle Martin Dobbins with DailyAlchemy.com. And today I want to talk about how your pain is a gift. And most of us, we want to run from our pain. We want to hide from it and pretend that it's not there. Because we think it's a bad thing, right? Pain is not what we want. But if we can remember that pain is a gift, it's coming here to teach us something, to help us learn something. And I can't think of a better example than the one that I hear from Abraham Hicks. And so I'm going to share how they explain it. And it really stuck with me. That is, when you put your hand on a hot stove and it hurts, that's a gift, right? Because if it didn't hurt, and I'm just kind of paraphrasing and going off of what I've heard them, so I hope I don't go too far off the path. But, when you put your hand on that hot stove and it hurts, that's a gift, right? Because if not, you could leave your hand on the hot stove and it's burning and it's steaming and, you have a charred, bloody hand left because you didn't have pain. And I have read some stuff. There are some people who are born where they don't feel physical pain, which can be really great if they want to be a fighter, but not so great because they don't know when they've hurt themselves. They don't know when something is wrong in their body because it doesn't give them that signal, that pain signal. And most of us can agree that even though pain doesn't feel good, it does serve a good purpose because, if you don't get a pain when, your appendix is going to rupture, then you don't know that you need to go to the doctor. If you don't get a pain when your bone is broken, sometimes you might not know. And it's good to know, right? If we're doing something that's damaging our body, we want to stop. And if something has happened that's injured us that needs to be fixed, pain is that message, hey, something's wrong here. Emotional pain is kind of the same. And, I don't find emotional pain to be a bad thing. And I'm definitely not telling you to try to hide from it and to not feel it. But a lot of times our thoughts and our feelings create pain. And pain in and of itself is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It's telling us, hey, you're going down the wrong rabbit hole. And, there are times in our lives that most all of us are going to feel pain, if someone passes away that we're close to or, different things happen. And the thing that I'm telling you is not to run away from that pain, but to feel that pain and embrace that pain. And then you can move on from the pain. Because when you try to run and hide from pain, then it becomes suffering. And then it just gets really crazy because when we don't feel it and process it, it gets kind of stuck in our body. And I feel like most all of us, we hide from pain and we run from pain. And we do it in a variety of different ways. We all have our own little ways that we run from pain and hide from pain. There are people who it's really obvious because they have addictions such as drinking, alcohol, drugs, gambling, eating disorders. We find a way to numb out and hide from our pain. The thing is, if we learn that our pain is there to give us a message, and when we get the message, the pain generally goes away. So we have to stop and feel the pain. And, I talk a lot about how I physically just try to stop telling the story and feel the sensations in my body of pain or whatever emotion I'm experiencing. And to me, that's the easiest way to shift and bring the vibration higher, is to not try to shift and bring the vibration higher, but just feel it and be with what it is and say, hey, I'm here for me and I'm going to feel this. And then try to let it go, but being okay with where it is. So I wanted to share with you a story of something that felt painful to me. And it came like out of the blue and really stressed me out for a little bit. And I had to kind of walk through this process. That was my husband and I got a notice that we were going to be audited. We were going to have a sales tax audit at our business. And in one way, it didn't really stress me because I try to be as honest and forthright in my business dealings as I can be. And I felt like I had paid all the taxes I was supposed to. But I was a little nervous for a couple of reasons. One is accounting is not my background, but I do most of the accounting for the business. And, like sometimes I'm like, I don't really understand balance sheets, but whatever, QuickBooks does it for me and it's all good. But sometimes I wonder, like, I don't know if I've screwed things up. I mean, we have an accountant who comes in at the end of the year and does our taxes and helps out with stuff. But I don't have any training, so I just kind of fly blindly. So I'm like, well, what if I've made a big mistake that I don't realize I've made? And it ends up just, really getting us penalized. So that was like kind of a crushing worry. And I may have brought on this tax audit myself just by always having that background where like, I'm not an accountant, but I'm doing these things and it's not my joy and it's not my bliss. But, it was just something that I did for our business because I was the person who had the time and I don't know about ability, but I did it the best of my ability. So, this audit was coming and it was kind of just really making me nervous. And I talked in my newsletter a little bit about just trying to shift that and like feel the feelings of anxiety about it and let them go. But, I let myself feel the pain and the fear of what if I've screwed things up? What if they're like, I've never seen such a mess before. So I went through that process, and on the other end, there was that gift of I was able to kind of calm my emotions and go through that. And I think anytime we can face our fears, feel our fears, and move through our fears, we're stronger and it's easier to do the next time. It doesn't mean it's necessarily any more fun to do, but we do learn it's a skill and we learn how to process it instead of running from it and numbing it. And for me, it came with another gift. And I think almost any time there's pain, there's a gift on the other side of pain. We don't always see it. Sometimes we don't see it for years. And that's okay. Like when I had depression and anxiety, I didn't see that was a good thing until years later. And I realized that it led me to a spiritual path and gave me a lot more purpose and meaning in my life. So if I hadn't had that, I don't know what I would be doing, but I don't think it would be as meaningful to me right now as what I'm doing right here and now. So, but I did digress a bit. But the pain from this, when we sat down and we're like, okay, so we're nervous. What should we do? What could make us feel more secure? And we called our own accountant, and we just didn't really feel like they're, just kind of more of a part-time tax preparer person. And so we started reaching out to some other people, and we found an accountant who came and looked at our stuff and said, it's pretty good. And, but also said, hey, I can do this, and this for you. Which is kind of a dream that I've had, a dream that someone would be able to take over the books for me. And right now we're still in that process of deciding if we're going to have this person do that. But like they laid out like this thing where to me it was just magic. Like we can do this and this and this and this. And it would take over probably 90%, maybe not quite 90, 85 to 90% of what I do in the business. It would take over pretty much almost all of the accounting. I would still be doing marketing and different things like that, but it would be like a huge load off of my shoulders. And I never really thought or looked for someone to do that for me. It was kind of like this vague dream of how nice would it be if someone else could take care of this and I wouldn't have to worry that I wasn't doing it properly. And then, the audit came and it propelled us to start to search for a different way. So sometimes something that seems really painful it just propels you to go to a new level. Because for us, that was like, can we afford this? And then we got to this point of, hey, if we're going to be, a certain kind of business, if we're going to be a solid business, then all businesses that are like what we want to be like have someone doing their books. So why didn't we even think about this before? So pain can really be a gift, when something comes up out of the blue. And, I almost hesitate to say it because in our culture, death of a friend or a family member is it's not okay if it's not painful. And it is okay for it to be painful. And I'm not going to say that it's not. But I do know some people who are really grounded and do so much spiritual work that they've had people pass on. And when they passed on, instead of feeling pain, they felt more connected to the person. And they could feel their energy and their vibration. And, it was a joyous celebration in their mind of like, now I can even be closer to this person. I myself am not to that point, but reading other people's experiences has kind of opened me up to think, even that, which is like such a big thing in our society. Like if you don't grieve someone, then people kind of look at you funny if you don't grieve them the way you're supposed to. But what if you actually celebrate them and you connect with their energy even more than that they're gone? Like I said, I haven't necessarily had that experience, but I can see how it could happen. And so kind of being open to, a lot of things that we decide have to be painful don't necessarily have to be painful. But just if the pain does come, we feel it and we let it be okay. And when we do that, I promise that it will shift. It may not shift in one session. We may have to sit down several times a day for weeks or months and feel the pain when it comes to you. It just depends on if it's a little thing, if it's a big thing, like losing someone close to you. And then look for the gift. Because I find when you start looking for the gift, you're much quicker to find it. Sometimes you don't see it until much later, but set that intention. Okay, this is painful right now, but I'm going to feel the pain and then I'm going to find the gift, the message, because pain is a messenger. When it comes in your body, it's sending you a message that something's wrong in your body. Emotional pain is telling you that something big is happening and you need to be aware of it. So I encourage you to play with this. Try not to numb out. If something scary or bad that feels scary or feels bad happens, to just sit down and feel those feelings and look for the gift in your pain or in the situation, either or, because it will be there eventually. And so it's funny because I hesitate to say that because I think of people saying, but you don't understand my pain or my story and there's nothing good about this. And I understand how some situations can feel that way. And in that situation, you definitely just want to be sweet and easy on yourself and just, allow yourself to feel your feelings and allow those feelings to last as long as they do. And it reminds me, I have a friend who was a judge who worked with drug addicted people, and she did some interventions where to get people off drugs, if they stayed clean and they went through this program, it would keep them out of jail. It was a great program. And she told me that there was a person in this program, and of course she doesn't give me very much details or names or information to protect people's privacy, but she told me this story about the person who had a spouse who had died years before, like probably 8 or 9 years before. And they were addicted to drugs when the spouse died, and they'd been addicted to drugs since then. And then when they got off the drugs, the waves of grief came from losing this person. And it was because, they thought, I suffered before I was sad, but they didn't actually process that pain. They just kept trying to numb it with drugs. and they just kept themselves numb. And so, if you keep yourself numb, you kind of keep yourself in suffering. It's that whole thing of pain is inevitable in life, but suffering is a choice. So if, we feel our pain and we look for the message in the pain, then we can move past it. And I'm not saying that sometimes there are some things that, like I'm assuming people who, lose family members, who lose, especially if the thought of losing a child would always have a little bit of bittersweet there. But then again, you may get to that point where you can connect with them still and feel a level of not joy in the loss, but joy in the connection, that that connection goes on. So there's hope at the end of the rainbow there. And I'm not even going to, say, because I haven't experienced that and I wouldn't wish it on anybody to go through, but we all have our pasts, and we all have the things that bring up pain to us. And it's interesting because something that brings up pain and worry and suffering, and well, not necessarily suffering, but brings that kind of those emotions up, may not do it for the other person. But when they come up, there's definitely a message for us there. So in closing, my tips for you when there's pain in your life is to remember that it's a gift. Try to be sweet with yourself. Try to allow yourself to feel it. Don't get upset with yourself for being afraid or scared or sad. Just feel it and be there for yourself. And intend to see the gift in it. And let me know how that goes for you, or if you have ways that you deal with your pain and your fears. I would love to hear those too. So go out and have a magical day today. Namaste and big hugs. Would you like some help creating more magic in your life? I've got a ton of freebies and goodies for you. They're all tucked away inside my magical freebie vault. You can get free access, though. You just have to go to www.dailyalchemy.com/magical-freebie-vault. Again, that's dailyalchemy.com/magical-freebie-vault. And when you get there, you can just plug in your name and email, and you will get instant access to all kinds of goodies. There are daily and weekly manifesting planners, the How to Shift Your Vibe in 5 Minutes e-kit that has audios and a workbook. There are moon manifesting planners and daily love lists and money trackers and all kinds of goodies right there. I didn't want to make you have to go to a bunch of different pages and sites and wait for certain freebies to come out. So I just took all of my freebies and put them in one place where you could just sign up one time and download any of them that you want at any time that you needed. So you can just head on over to dailyalchemy.com/magical-freebie-vault and download them today. Have a magical day.
Thanks for listening to the Adventures in Alchemy podcast. Connect with me on thedailyalchemy.com or Facebook at facebook.com/Michelle Dobbins, author. Join us next time for even more magical life tips.